Hello and welcome to the Buzzcast. The podcast is being brought to you by those who bring you the Appraisal Buzz newsletter, which comes out to about 70,000 valuation professionals twice a week. And then we also publish the Appraisal Buzz magazine, which goes out twice a year, once in the spring and then again in the fall. It's chocked full of great information for real estate appraisers. It's all very appraisal centric. I am Karen Connolly. I'm the VP of Operations for Altera Group. We have with us today Jeff Sherman, who is the current president of the Appraisal Institute. We're going to have a quick word from our sponsor and then chat with Jeff about what's going on. At Solidify, they are redefining the customer experience. Each appraisal is performed by the nation's top performing appraisers. Their national appraisal network is comprised of committed professionals who go well above and beyond for both the lender and the homeowner. Their top appraisers are in turn rewarded with more exposure, more assignments that enable them to grow their business. We've been seeing how terrific Solidify treats their appraisers for years at Valuation Expo, which is really great to see. Solidify ensures the right appraiser on every order, every time. You can find out more about Solidify at solidify.com. So, Jeff, it's quite an honor to be the president of the Appraisal Institute. Why don't you start by telling us about yourself and how did you get to this point in your career?
Sure, Karen, thanks. And hey, it's great to be with Appraisal Buzz today and the Buzz Nation, I guess. So how did I get started? Boy, out of college, my dad was in the real estate brokerage industry, so I went into brokerage, although he said, you can't come work with me, you got to go somewhere else. So I moved from southern Michigan to Fort Collins, Colorado, and I was out there for a few years and came back to help him open an office, and we practiced together in the brokerage business. So I was in brokerage for 11 years, and you get to learn a lot about people's motivations. You learn a lot about contracts, buyers and sellers, and a lot about real estate. So I got into the appraisal. So it's a very interesting story. I was sitting at my desk. So those 11 years, half of that time, interest rates were between 18 to 21%. Nobody can believe that. But let me tell you, nobody was buying anything. It was almost impossible.
It was like that, Jeff.
Yeah, it was almost impossible to sell
Not
anything.
long ago, I was talking to Jim Morrison, our VP of Sales and Marketing. And when I told him the interest rates were that high back then, he was like, what? To him, 7% sounds high, right?
So I'm sitting at my desk, starving a little bit, right? And I get a phone call from the chief appraiser at HUD in Grand Rapids. I remember his name to this day. I can almost remember the phone call. His name is Gene Korstra. I'm sure Gene is long retired. And he says, Jeff, I have 6 mobile homes in Hillsdale, Michigan I need to have appraised. Would you be interested in doing them? I'll come down, take you through it. I'll teach you how to do it and, show you the ropes. And I said, well, Gene, how much do they pay? And he said, I'm not going to, I guess quoting money back then isn't an issue. We always have to be careful of antitrust, but it was $90, right? So, and I quickly multiplied 6 by 90, and I said, that's more than I'm making sitting at my desk. So that, believe it or not, the appraisal business came looking for me. I didn't know I needed it, but man, it's been a great fit. So since 1984, I've been in the appraisal business, and as luck would have it, in southern Michigan, I started with the Appraisal Institute taking classes, and the first class was being taught by Terry Etzel, who some of you will recognize his name because in 1988, he was president of the Institute. So I went up to Terry at break, and I said, how do you get into the commercial business? And he said, let's go to lunch. So I ended up working for Terry for 7 years. And now, coincidence of coincidences, we're both, presidents of the Appraisal Institute. It's a very heartwarming thing for me. But really, the most important part about this is our members. And everything that we do in the Appraisal Institute is about our members and about the profession. And I think we're very focused on trying to bring value in many different ways to membership and to the profession. So that's a little bit about my background.
Well, I have to say you might have dated yourself on a couple of things there.
I'm sure.
So going into this, what was near and dear to your heart when you thought about what you wanted to accomplish for this year?
So again, now everybody has to kind of step back to the pre-COVID situation because we weren't facing this. So our goals have shifted a little bit and our work has shifted a little bit. But coming in, and I'm going to kind of probably answer one of the questions you might have for me later about membership and, where membership, increasing membership, decreasing membership is. So looking back at where we were at the beginning of the year, we had a strategic planning session as officers and as certain other members of our leadership got together and we talked about the ways to move forward into the future. So one of the items that came up was that we want to have our website have tremendous appeal, and we think it can be improved. And, we just went through about a 2-year restructuring of our software that runs the Appraisal Institute. It was a huge undertaking. And we're still refining it to make it work better and better every month. So my goal of improving the website, anything that we do in terms of improving what the Appraisal Institute does is subject to 3 things. Resources. They're all resources. So we have staff resources. Of course, everybody, when you say resource, they think of money. And the other thing is we have volunteer hours and volunteer and expertise availability. So when you have too many goals, you can't get anything done because everything gets split up. So that particular part of my goal about improving our website was kind of put on hold because we're so much into refining this extensive it was a brand new software system that we put into place to run the appraisal. And we have 33 different sections of the Appraisal Institute, believe it or not, that it controls, and that's what our members touch when they come to the website. So that this is a very specific item, but it's something that people see. It's the first experience they have with the Appraisal Institute. And we all kind of identified that as being something that would be very meaningful. Well, as we've moved through into other things and we've had to adapt a little bit into our environment, one of the places we've been able to go with some suggestions from some of our project teams and committees is to the one feature that we have on our website that's extremely valuable to our members is our find an appraiser function. So if you're one of our members and you're listed with your qualifications and your contact information, people can search for you. But we don't feel that it's quite as robust as it could be. And I've put a project team, I've assigned a project team to investigate this. I've picked 7 of our members who are technologically way above my knowledge. And they're going to be working with staff to try to, I'll use the term reimagine our find an appraiser function. So not only will it be easy for appraisers to use, but for clients, it will become very intuitive for them to be able to find appraisers based on maybe their defined area in which they work. It might be a snapped map that they're able to use to define their work area. It might be zip codes, but they're going to figure this out. They're going to bring the maximum value to us from that. And it is the largest database searchable database of appraisers, I believe, in the country. So the 17,000 members.
I've used that database several times when I've looked for information on members. I do event planning, so I don't use it for the same reasons other people do. Mm-hmm. I generally am looking to find, knowledgeable speakers, and the Appraisal Institute always has, they're a huge resource for that. But when you talk about broadening the kinds of things people can do when they're searching on it, can they search for the type of assignments that an appraiser does? Like if they do,
Yes.
Luxury homes or solar panels or, expert testimony?
So there are limited search areas today. There are limited search areas by property type and by your type of practice, like the items that you were mentioning there. Some of those are available, some might not be available. We need to get as many as possible available so that we're covering all of the specialties that our members individually cover, so that they will be connected and our clients will be connected to us in the most meaningful way.
So you started out the year with the one focus. How has COVID-19 shifted your goals from the beginning of the year?
So it's shifted in very interesting ways. And I think the most obvious is Zoom or GoToWebinar or whatever particular platform anyone is using out there. There's so many great meetings that are being used now for this and throughout our organization. You're calling me on a Tuesday, and an hour before this call, I was on an hour and a half chapter meeting with our Chicago chapter, which a lot of people recognize because that's been one of the leading places to get education in the Appraisal Institute is the Chicago chapter. But I was on with them in a Zoom meeting, and we were going over for a half an hour all of the things that are going on inside AI, and then I took questions. So we've seen an adaptation by our chapters nationally. I would guess a lot of the Buzz listeners here today have tuned into some of our webinars that we've had, and we've had a number of different kinds of webinars. So we've gotten such tremendous feedback from our members that they're telling us they feel the tremendous value that's being brought to them by being part of the Appraisal Institute. So, and I want to emphasize this. I think in the past, sometimes the Appraisal Institute might have come across as being too exclusive. And I really have to say that the people that I know that I work with day to day, we work for not only the Appraisal Institute and our members, but we work for the profession. I mean, if I were to sit down and talk with you about what goes on in Washington, D.C., and we're going to have a chance to chat a little bit about a couple of those items that our staff gets involved in there, it doesn't just benefit our members. It goes across the spectrum. So that really, it is our focus in many, and you talk about appraisal education and the quality of the classes that we have. And you talk about us being the caretakers of the body of knowledge. And we will be publishing the 15th edition of the Appraisal Institute a little later this year, probably in the third quarter. And the 15th edition, the last one was written in 2013. There are going to be substantial updates and revisions in this. And it astounds me, the people that I get to work with. And I watch them work and use their knowledge to benefit the profession. And we have subject matter experts that are the top professionals in the United States and then probably in the world that invest volunteer hour after hour after hour to make it the best possible. And they're relentless. It's amazing to watch them work and to see what's happening. So I've rambled a little bit, Karen.
Well, I can confirm a lot of what you've said. First off, those guys out of Chicago they're fantastic. We had an event in Chicago last spring, and they were really gracious to us. We pretty much came in on their turf, and they were a big asset for us. Bill Garber has spoken at a number of events for us, and the way he can rattle off what's going on in the industry, where it's at in the process, and what they think the outcome is going to be, and the contributions that you guys made to legislation. It's incredible to see from basically an outsider looking in.
It's nice to hear. It's nice to hear, and it's humbling from an insider too. I can tell you that.
That document you're putting out, is that available to non-members as well, or is it members only?
I'm sorry, I lost track. What document are we referring
Appraisal
to?
Institute.
Oh, so this is probably, most people would say it's our signature publication. It's called The Appraisal of Real Estate. So it's a book, and you can buy it through the Appraisal Institute when it's released. If you're a member, you get a little discount. They have it available in a couple different packages that you can get the hard copy, which a lot of people like to have a hard copy. And we also have a PDF version, which is searchable, which is really neat, because if you want a specific thing you want to address, like let's say I want to get into highest and best use, and you can type that in and go boom right there, and you can pick up all the references so that you can immediately get to those specific things. And if you're involved in litigation, you need to know where to go to get the latest that you're quoting in your appraisal report. That's for sure.
Yeah, what a great resource. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break for a word from one of our sponsors. Listen, nobody wants to work more for less money, and to some, the appraisal industry looks like it might be heading that way. So you have to do more for the same money, and now you have less time to yourself. The great news is Data Master can change all that. With their easy-to-use software, Data Master lets you spend more time analyzing and less time typing. Plus, you get more information than from any other data import product. Head to www.datamasterusa.com/buzz for more information on how you can save an hour per report. Who wouldn't love that? Data Master provides the right data at the right time for the right decision. Learn more at www.datamasterusa.com/buzz. So, we had an event planned in New Orleans back in March, and we can completely empathize with you guys about having to cancel your yearly conference, which I know was always so well attended. Are you guys planning any other conferences or a virtual conference this year?
So that's a really good question. And the short answer is no. And for now, and let me just summarize that the kind of the highlight of our conferences, other than the keynote speakers, which we usually on day one have an awesome speaker, and then we have a great speaker also on day two, and their stories are unbelievable. But then we structure around them usually 30 education events of about an hour and a half in length, extensive content approval throughout the country for those events. But this year we're not going to do anything more, because we've been investing a lot of time and a lot of expertise and a lot of, frankly, money in our webinars that we've been doing and in our AI answers on Wednesdays. So those have been free and complimentary to our members, and I believe to the public as well. So other professionals can tune in on those. And this has kind of taken the place of that kind of education. And again, unfortunately, it doesn't have the continuing education approved. But this, I think part of our responsibility as good appraisers is to continue to be good and to make ourselves even better. And in these times when you can learn more about things that are going on outside of my silo that I'm in, we're all better for that. Because I'll tell you, the future of the profession is at stake when it comes to appraisal quality. And I have an expression that I use, a little phrase, when I'm talking with appraisal professionals, whether they're at our chapters or at other meetings, and that is, absent quality, we will be irrelevant. Just think about it now. If our clients don't feel that they're getting a quality product, why do they need us? So you're going to be looking at alternative valuation products, so all of us, all the time, have to do the very best job we can on every assignment. It's extremely important. So that's a long answer.
Yeah, but now is really the time to be on your game for sure. So, so can you tell us about what the Appraisal Institute has been doing during the coronavirus? You You mentioned the webinars. Do you have other webinars that you guys have put together that you'd like to tell us about?
Yeah, let me see if I can give you a couple highlights here. On June 3rd, one of our AI Answers sessions was with Bill Garber, our Director of Government and External Relations, and Scott DiBiasio, who handles our state legislative affairs. And they talked about federal legislation and regulation impacting appraisers. Then on June 10th, the next week, we went to two of our designated members, Dennis Duffy and Robert Hoyner, MAI, from the Archstone Group, and they shared how tools and techniques of value sustainability analysis can be leveraged by appraisers to assist real estate stakeholders in scenario analysis. Now, just real briefly, scenario analysis might be, okay, what was the value before COVID-19? What's the value after? Or what are the intervening factors that we need to be thinking about that are risk factors that when we're making a loan or we're buying a property or we're making an investment, we should be aware of. So that was one. And then on June 17th, Bill spoke with Lisa Damaris. Lisa is Vice President of Appraisal Issues with the Appraisal Foundation. And they discussed a wide range of ongoing projects, including updates to UsePath, appraiser licensing trends, virtual education allowances for appraisers during the COVID-19 emergency, and a bunch of different things. So those are, three examples of those AI Answer webinars that we're doing on Wednesdays. And those are available on our YouTube channel. People can go back and view them now if they'd like.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Well, we've got another word from one of our sponsors, and then I'm going to come back and hit you with some questions on what the Appraisal Institute's working on related to solar and energy efficiency and then potential legislation. So be thinking about that. Listen, if you've grown frustrated with endlessly pursuing new appraisal work and not reaping any of the benefits, Metro West is here to help. They understand how to alleviate the pain points commonly felt by appraisers to enable personal and financial growth for their staff and everyone involved. After all, they've been owned and operated by appraisers since the company opened in 1987. Metro West Appraisal is an equal opportunity employer, and they're always looking for certified residential real estate appraisers to join their team. You can find out more at www.metrowestappr.com. Check them out. So, Jeff, how is the Appraisal Institute helping with green appraisals like solar and energy efficiency?
Sure, great question, and an important question too. So we do have what's called our professional development program, which consists of 3 courses, both on the commercial side and on the residential side. And once you've completed those courses and passed the exams, you're recognized on our professional development registry. And energy efficiency / green is certainly one of our specialties. We have a litigation side and a variety of different types of professional development programs. So what are we doing now that's kind of interesting? So I want to talk about ResNet. ResNet is the Residential Energy Services Network. So we've had a relationship with ResNet since 2015. But in March of 2018, the Appraisal Institute and ResNet launched an appraisal portal that allows our professionals to access data for properties that have energy efficient ratings. So those ratings are called HERS scores, HERS, Home Energy Rating System or Home Energy Rating Score. So there are now 2.7 million homes that have HERS ratings that are in the portal. So if you're working in a certain zip code and you have an energy efficient home that has certain features, you can bring up the network and do a zip code search and see if there are any sold properties in your market that might allow you to extract a value for this additional component. And what's really interesting is paying attention to this and watching what's going on. And I've lectured with Sandy Adamatis, who a lot of the listeners here know who Sandy is. Sandy refers to herself as the Green Queen, okay? She knows, she is so amazing. I walk away from being with her and I learned so much. So we've done presentations this year, actually before COVID set in, and we got to talk about some of these things. So our ability to, let me just stop for a second and say, I'd like to encourage all residential appraisers to think about getting specialized in this area. It not only, there's builders out there, a lot of homes are being built today with energy efficient items that you say, oh, it's not a big deal in my area. Well, if somebody's investing, if there are solar panels on a home, for instance, is there value added from the solar panels? Well, you need to find out whether those are leased, and if there's a contract that it actually precedes the lien status to the mortgage. The government has the right to collect the money for that energy efficient, the solar panels. So they become something perhaps other than real property, depending on the situation. But there are other types, how is the house built? Is it super insulated? What kind of furnace does it have? What else has been done by the builder to meet today's demands of buyers in the market? And it costs more to do this stuff. So if we sit back and say, oh, I haven't seen anything in my market, it's a zero. Remember, a zero adjustment is an adjustment, and it means there is no value difference. Well, what have you done to justify that, to verify, or to extract that from the market? So here we have an ability to learn about through our professional development program, and to use tools that we have to help you extract that. We've also done some studies that are available, which can help buttress your claims and your investigation. So, I think this is an area where it's a separator. So if you're working for some companies and you let them know, some mortgage companies, some different groups that deal in the mortgage market, that's fine. Let them know that you've got this specialty and you can handle this. And do you think that only will raise your flag higher with them for energy efficiency? No, because I think once you show an expertise in some related area, they're much more likely to put you higher up on their list. So I think there's a lot of value even in your area. You say, well, we're just not seeing this. It's going to happen. Invest in yourself, make your practice better, hopefully make more money. That's what we're in the business for.
So, it's funny you bring up Sandra Adamatis. She just wrote an article for us in the Buzz, was talking about how the lien takes first position. And,
right.
It was something I hadn't even considered. I was fascinated when I read through it. Had no idea.
Yeah.
So
it's a specialty. I mean, there's expertise required to do things the right way, just like in any facet of the valuation profession.
Well, it's like you said, quality is really what's going to separate appraisers out from all of those other automated processes.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Jeff, can you tell us about the potential appraisal porthole legislation?
Sure can. So we just talked about an appraisal portal, which was inside ResNet, actually. But we've been working in the Appraisal Institute on a licensing portal for appraisers. So let me just review a few notes here with you. And, while we advocate on behalf of valuation professionals in Washington, D.C. and around the country, that's always a priority for us. We're very pleased to be working on this portal legislation. And here are some of the details. As of today, the House may introduce appraisal portal legislation for licensing and certifications this summer. The AI's Washington office continues to work with a bipartisan coalition in the creation of a portal for appraisal licensure. So the portal would provide appraisers really one-stop shopping capabilities when applying for and renewing licenses. And, there's probably 10 to 15% of appraisers that have licenses in multiple states. And for those of you that do, it is an extremely cumbersome process keeping up with all the requirements. Was this Con Ed approved over here? I got it here. Do I remember to apply because there's different dates over there, and all this stuff that goes on all the time. So what we're trying to do is smooth out this morass for our members in the profession so that you can concentrate on doing what you do instead of administrative stuff that doesn't make you any money. And I have an example, Karen. A friend of mine who's in the commercial side does regional malls. And he's all across the country. He's licensed in 40 states. The coordination problem for continuing education and license renewal is so cumbersome that he has one full-time person just to coordinate his individual licenses. So kind of bad news for that person, because if this comes in, the work requirements will be a lot less, but maybe she or he can help figure out how to make more money for my colleague, I guess, administratively speaking. So that's kind of a little briefing on what's going on with the portal legislation, the idea behind it. We work very closely with the appraisal subcommittee. We talked with TAF. We've been around a number of different government agencies and congresswomen to make sure that this looked like it was a good idea. And we think we've got some traction.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. The information you gave our listeners is a lot to think about. And we hope that our listeners enjoyed it. And we look forward to the next Buzzcast episode. And until then, everybody stay safe out there.